Hey,
Dude, the red, white, and blue is amazing.
isn't that great?
I love it. I've got a Baker Hughes hat that said, "Drill Baby Drill," and it's got, like, an old Baker Hughes logo on it, and it kinda reminds me of that same color and everything. The red, white, and blue is like I really like the mustard yellow, though. Like, I think that's pretty
So, dude, this is funny. I showed my mom the
okay.
the videos on TikTok, and my mom's in with the times. Like she's come up with ideas for companies and like
So,
made my dad go buy the domain on GoDaddy.
that's awesome.
And so her and I always throw these ideas back and forth. It's like you have to only wear the yellow hat. Like don't do anything else. Like anyways, how you been?
I've been good. I've been working with all this, like I call it AI stuff, which some of it really is AI stuff. A lot of it too is just like getting into Power Automate and starting to learn how to use that to do a lot of my stuff. Have you never so I didn't know about Power Automate either. But it's essentially like a Microsoft backend that you can like pretty easily program all these things. I love the problem solving. I love like build, and then tab, best feeling ever. It reminds me of back whenever I was in school and like I was Chem E, but like we studied in the same area that had a lot of electricals or computer science. And you'd see them all like sitting around this table and they're all just like banging away. And then all of a sudden one of them like stands up and is like, like you can tell his code ran. And then everybody else kind of has this immediate like, oh, kind of a deal. And then he'd go around and start helping everybody else. And so it's a great feeling whenever you like
That's the way to do it.
create it. Yeah. So it's
Awesome. Well, looks like I'm already recording. This is Local Energy. My name is Peter Brecht. I'm here with Wade Spear. Excited to have you guys with us. Man, Wade, we started putting this on Spotify like 2 weeks ago, and,
right.
and we've got. I mean, that's really where it's at. Everyone's listening to
Haven't checked it out.
Spotify.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's because they don't have to look at us. That's the truth.
Right. Yeah, we got a face for the radio
Yeah, that's
and a voice for the papers, and then what they used to always say.
exactly. And so we're on Spotify. I think that's probably the best place to find us. Even though YouTube it's still climbing. So I've got a couple things to cover this week. We're starting to kind of find our groove, but huge announcement, and I'm gonna put this out there, but we have a sponsor.
What?
My father-in-law is sponsoring our show, and actually, yeah, he's $40 a month. He's paying for our Riverside subscription here that we're using to record. He put together this like fun infomercial and it gave me an idea for compressed towels. He's traveling right now to Canada in a van and just having the time of his life. He's got his dog Ozzy with him. He's 75 years old, and he sends us this long video of like how to clean yourself with a compressed towel. Like, and I'm just like, it's hilarious. So I'm gonna put it
To get breath towel, is that like a towel that's like one of those ones that are like vacuum packed? Like.
Yeah, purely my father-in-law being himself. I like live his best life on the road, and like seeing all these beautiful things is cool. So, anyways, I know
Sounds like he's really lit.
it's the
It
dream.
just makes me jealous. I know.
Someday we'll get there. We'll get there.
And here we are in front of cameras and in our house or in the office, and he's out, bathing in streams in backwoods Canada.
I feel bad for him, honestly. He hasn't taken a proper shower in days. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So, I wanted to cover some news items, and we don't. It seems like we're covering a couple news items every week, and maybe that's a good thing for me. So in California, they passed Senate Bill 237 and 767. So those are sitting on our governor's desk right now, which is great. So 237 is basically opening up Kern to permitting. So up there in Taft and Bakersfield, hopefully, getting some permitting done for some drilling, which would be just super fantastic. I
What do
don't
you
know.
think's driving that? Why? I mean, that seems like a change of course. What do you think's driving that?
It's definitely a positioning for Newsom to run for president. That's the only thing I can think of. I think we've done a good job too as a industry in California and getting out there and really talking about it. A lot of vocal groups, I mean, truly, when your livelihood is on the line like that, you're going to speak up. But I mean, this has been going on for a couple years.
Right.
I might have mentioned this on a previous episode, but when I went to the SIPA event a couple months back, I mean, the room had a different aura about it, right? There was a sense of kind of hope and like, okay, we're heading somewhere. So finally, with this passing, I think that we're going to start seeing some things that are actually tangible. And,
So maybe this is like kind of driven to be a talking point, I guess.
I think so.
Okay.
Because if, let's say, you run for president and you have energy failure, you're going to have all these. I mean, how many of our states are dependent on oil and gas as an economy, right? I mean, you just get out of California, right? And you start seeing that. So I think that's a big piece of it. And then along with that, I mean, they've got the Valero refinery that they're going to throw just so much money at to keep it online, which is another reversal. So, and that goes along with 767. So,
Okay.
they want the energy commissioner to monitor the crude oil pipeline deliveries is part of that, and they're trying to prevent refinery disruptions because effectively what happens is, I mean, we're going to have a gasoline price increase if they don't fix this too, right? So, and what do people get mad about more than anything else is, I think, gas prices.
Well, that's the direct one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a natural flow of things. So a lot going on in California right now. I'm going up to Bakersfield on Tuesday. I'll see what the temperature's like up there. I think it'll be a more positive one. I'm hoping it is, but I would be so excited just if gas could stay flat or maybe even go down. I'd be happy. So
Gasoline or natural gas? Which one?
I mean, gas price such personally. Yeah.
All right. I'm on me. Natural gas going to hurt us.
Yeah, I don't pay for much natural gas. Like it's just not.
Well, that's the deal. It's not, I think the deal with gasoline, why it hurts so much too, is like, I mean, you're getting out of your car, you're pumping it, you're watching the number go up. Natural gas is a bill that you get. A lot of times it's auto draft, it's all those different things. And so, you don't see, it's not as tangible, I guess. So, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, keep.
We came back from Arizona last week and I stopped like right on the border of California and Arizona. I was like, I'm out of gas. I'm running on fumes. It was like the last gas station. I got lucky. I was sweating to get there. Pull over. It's the sketchiest gas station that I've ever been to. Like just like, your kid's like, "Hey dad, can I get out of the car and stretch my legs?" I'm like, absolutely not. Like you're staying in the car for this one. Uh, but I looked at like the Arizona taxes compared, because they tell you like how many fees and yeah, I was like, it was so much less just on that alone. So anyway, sorry, I cut you off there.
Well, no, I was changing the subject a little bit. I was running back. You'd ask about Petcoke last week, and now I'm starting to see a lot of that kind of hit my feed too, and started asking around about it. So that's a pretty interesting development there. I think it was Robert. I think it was Robert Clark or somebody I follow on Twitter. Is one of the guys who was posting about that. He might actually be heavily involved in it. It seems like he was going on a road show, kind of telling everybody about it. But it was really interesting in the sense that, there's like kind of like you mentioned, looks like they're seeing 7 to 18% increase in production. And I think the thought is a couple of different things. Number one, it's super cheap. Number two, it's a little bit lighter. So I think it's, probably easier to transport and all that stuff. But then I think also, and just kind of perusing a free article that I saw, was they're thinking it gets into fractures that maybe sand couldn't prop open. So if it can get out there and do those things, I mean, it just helps prop open those fractures and keep those highways flowing where sand maybe can't reach. And so that's it would be a really interesting deal. Now, the thing that I saw also said that like they weren't replacing sand with Petcoke, or at least not all of it. They were adding Petcoke in there with the sand as well. And so I think they're using it maybe more in the very small kind of micro fractures out there at the very end, and maybe not as much in these, main fractures right next to the wellbore. So
Be interested correctly, like the fractures that are closer to the heel are bigger than the ones as you go to the end.
well, I'd say closer to the wellbore. So, every fracture propagates out essentially perpendicular to the wellbore is how you can best think about it. That's a gross generalization, but that fracture starts from inside the casing, right where your perfs are, and then it just grows out from there. And so, yes, the fractures kind of get smaller and smaller as you get further away. And then, there's also, a lot of that has to do too with like small fractures you fracturing off of these bigger fractures. So you've got these primary fractures that come out, but then it's not just all going in one direction. It's breaking out in tons of different directions and creating an entire like fracture network, a big matrix out there.
Interesting. Like, yeah, I didn't think like you just think, okay, it fractures, but like how deep does that fracture actually go into the rock?
Yeah, because what you don't like, they call them like a lot of times they'll call them bi-wing fractures. So like that's probably the fractures you're thinking of. Like it's just these big fractures that go out in both directions, and they don't really come off of those big fractures. But those aren't always the best for production because, if you think about being a molecule of gas or oil in the reservoir, like you would have to travel a long distance to get to that big bi-wing, whereas if you've got all these little fractures, it can kind of enter into, one of those little, network fractures and then transfer travel into the primary fracture and then go from there. So
Cool.
a little bit outside of my expertise here, but as far as I understand it, that's part of where that Petcoke I think really comes in is it props open those really small fractures that sand can't get to.
I'll put this post in the show notes from Robert Clark. But yeah, he does a bit of talking about Petcoke, and that's interesting. He's actually a great follow. He's got some good insights.
Tons of information.
Yeah, a lot of stuff, a lot of free knowledge out there on Twitter, as Wade and I will tell you.
Well, I've learned a lot or been exposed to a lot from people I've never ever talked to, and he's one of those up at the top of that list. Never talked to him, never met him, but I'm always interested to see what he's saying and what he's bringing up. So appreciate that approach.
Absolutely. Another thing that I saw that he actually posted about, which was that CRC, so California Resources, bought Berrycorp for $717 million. So just a couple dollars. They're gonna be, headquartered in Long Beach, which is great. What the cool thing that got me was, so they're gonna produce 161 barrels a day, is what they're estimating, and then they have 652 million barrels of proved reserves. So,
Right.
that's a pretty good. It's a good day, I think, and for that to kind of come on the heels of all of this new, Q-37, and so this is like, what great timing. It's almost like they planned it, right?
Feels like the tide's turning in the Isle
Yeah.
Point energy.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I'd love to get a guy from CRC on here and talk to one of these California guys that are, I don't know, it's just such a heritage of it. Maybe we'll go to the museum on Tuesday. I'm taking one of our new guys up there. He's never been on an oil field before,
Right.
and I gotta just, I gotta show him a pump jack in real life, right? If nothing else.
That's right.
And then we'll go.
I don't know that it's that exciting, but
I think it is. I'm also like less than 1% of the population, so.
I got it.
All right, so there's a couple questions I got. Actually, I got some fun oil and gas things playing here. So we talked about Chimera bits, and I picked up on one of your comments because I didn't know what you were talking about. And so this is what you'd written. You put good TF and a good ROP when sliding, but that CREV limit could be a problem on those slower curves. What is a CREV limit, and like,
Okay.
is it something, or was it a misspelling, or is it real?
No, it is. Yes, TF stood for tool face, right? So good tool face control, being able to control where you wanted to go. ROP, we've talked about rate of penetration, how fast you're drilling. Is really, so KREV stands for 1,000 revolutions, right? And so these bits that have roller cones, all right, which is what Chimera has a couple on that bit. Those bearings have set limits. I mean, because they are, and I don't want to say set limits, they have guidelines, right? And so whenever you run a Baker bit and a Chimera bit is just made by Baker Hughes. Those bearings have a predetermined life, and they kind of say, all right, here's how many K revs you should run. Now it depends on what size of bit you're running, is how many K revs they kind of recommend on each, and you can run as many as you want, but they do kind of warrant and say, hey, beyond this number of K revs, we've seen an increased amount of failures. So maybe you don't want to go beyond that. And so essentially what you can do is you can just track, K rev. So K stands for 1,000, rev stands for revolutions. So how many thousands of revolutions that bit's turned while you're on that run, and that can help determine, when you might want to pull that bit and get a fresh one.
Okay. So you can I don't know, modify how fast the drill bit's turning then. So you could increase or decrease your K revs. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can do it by two different methods. Number one would be your rotary on surface. Now, if you're sliding, you're not turning your top drive, right? And so that doesn't add any revolutions. But downhole, your motor spins your bit, and your motor, you can change your motor speed by ordering a different motor, right? Or you could kind of adjust whatever you've got in the hole by altering your flow rate. So, like say that you get a motor out there, a 7.867 motor. So that's 8 lobes, 7, 8, 6, 7, 6.7 stages. The RPG, so revolutions per gallon, is, I think that one's 0.66 or 0.67. So every gallon of fluid that passes through it, the bit spins 0.67 revolutions. So 2/3 of a revolution, right? So if you're pumping at 300 GPM, the bit the motor is turning the bit 200 RPM.
Okay.
So 300 times 0.67 is 200.
Got it. Okay.
Right.
I'm vaguely following you.
Okay.
It's like, I'd want to put I'm
Well, you just gave, yeah, you got, man, we could, let me see here. I've got, no, that's a connection. I was going to say this. So this is what the inside of a motor looks like. All right. Now there's there's a lot of different kinds of motors, but you've essentially got your motor housing out here. And then you've got this is what we call the contoured stator. So you can see like the metal is the metal is essentially cut to your lobes right there. And then you've got a pretty much what you'd say is a pretty even layer of rubber around that. Sorry there.
yeah.
This is what you'd call an even wall. A normal motor is just a circle of metal right there, and then the rubber is thicker and thinner to create this lobe pattern right there.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of what the inside of it looks like. There's a rotor that turns inside of it as you pump fluid down it. The rotor turns. The rotor's connected to the bit box, and so the bit box turns the bit. Right, that's where the bit.
So I guess that makes sense that your bit would be a very important part of the whole process. You're drilling, obviously, but the technology in that bit, I guess it's like my brain still hasn't wrapped itself around how it all works, because it's a technical process, but it's also, I mean, we've been doing it for so long that it almost seems natural. So what you're saying is there's quite a bit of math that probably goes into how fast you're turning your drill bit.
Yeah, I mean, you can calculate it. Yes, for sure. And then, we just depending on what formation you're in or how you want to drill your well, you order a different motor for different setups. If you're in like a really tough drilling carbonate that maybe wears down bits really quickly, you probably don't want to spin your bit super fast. Like you can create a lot of heat friction and all that stuff in there and degrade your bit faster. So in a lot of those situations, we'll go with a little bit of a slower speed motor to slow down those RPMs to try and limit that heat and everything created from that cutting and to extend bit life, and to decrease abrasion and all those different things. I mean, there's tons of stuff that goes into all of these decisions, but yeah, it's a complex system is what you could say. There are tons and tons of variables. Like I come from a science background, right? Like I'm microbiology, like worked in a lab, like got a paper published and doing the scientific method, like all that stuff, right? I love oil and gas because you can change all these different things. Like you can almost never downhole get to like eliminate all but one variable. There's always different variables coming into play, whether that be like the rock changes from foot to foot, or maybe your mud properties change just the slightest. I mean, there's tons of different things that go on downhole that you just can't account for and normalize to really test that one variable. It's a challenge. So it's a very complex system.
I like that. The question that I feel like this is a stupid question, but I have to ask it is, you're saying there's a motor. Is this an electric? Like is it an electric motor? Like what are we dealing with when you say no?
Okay, so whenever I talk about motor, we call it's a mud motor. All right, and so essentially, I showed you that rotor, or I showed you the stator. Right, there's a rotor that goes in there, and if the stator has like 8 lobes, the rotor will have 7 lobes. Okay, and so there's always one lobe empty. As fluid is pumped down the drill string, it hits that rotor, and a fraction, portion of the fluid kind of pushes down, but because that rotor has a helical turn to it, some of it's also kind of pushing sideways. So you're creating essentially a force with that fluid that spins that rotor inside of that stator. So it's a fluid force. It's a hydraulic type force that creates the rotor spinning, which then spins the bit.
We just connected so many dots in my brain. Like everything came together, and that's all I needed. That's great. Okay.
All right, good deal. It's tough to explain without the diagrams and everything else. So
I've looked at enough diagrams. Like I have like I bought so many textbooks. Wait, I can't even tell you. Like I'm like, Texas A&M is like, where are we gonna get those books back? And I'm like, I don't.
You're an honorary Aggie now, is what you're doing?
Yeah. And no, I seriously, I probably bought like 6 or 7 of them. My wife is like, why do you keep ordering textbooks? And I'm like, because I need content for the show. No, because I'm just interested. I don't tell you. But to that point too, so you said you're gonna have good tool face control and a good ROP but sliding. What is sliding here? Like, what do you mean by that?
The sliding is when you're not rotating the drill string. using the top drive. Yep. So it's just trying to orient your bent motor in a single direction. And so that's sliding.
Okay, got it. You have the easy enough.
The opposite of that is rotating, and it's when we're turning the bit, turning the hole.
Okay, good to know. All right, perfect. Okay, I really liked this comment as we were talking about, again, abbreviations, but
Right.
like this is an entire job description with just abbreviations. So I'm going to walk you through it, and so doing our typical quiz, right? We're going to talk about this job. So
Okay.
TIH, so you're going to trip and haul, right?
Yeah. Yep.
DO, you're going to drill out. This is a new one to me. Was CP? What does CP stand for?
I mean, immediately, is there a number after it? I think of casing pressure.
I think it's circulate and pull, but I wasn't totally sure.
What happens after it? So what did we do? We tripped in hole. Drilled out.
Drill out.
Okay. So
and then you CP, then you tag PBTD, which another one I didn't know.
Yeah, that's like bottom hole. Bottom.
Okay.
Well, I think it stands for like. Oh, we don't use that one much. I think it's like probable bottom hole TD. CP would be. I'm not quite sure on CP. It wouldn't be casing pressure on that one. Like circulate. I don't know. Like, are they getting ready to do a fit test? I'm trying to figure out. I don't. Yeah.
They literally just gave a list of abbreviations, and I was like, "Well, this looks like a puzzle." So I'm gonna. So it could be.
Is that the of it?
No, then you trip out a hole. So TOOH, and then you RDMO.
Rig down, move that.
Would get rig down, move off. Yeah. And then you TOOH, but yeah, I did TOOH. That's the proper way to do it. All right, I'm learning.
It's 50-50 out there, but yeah, I have a preference. If I were filling out reports, I wouldn't put that. I'd put TOO.
That makes sense. So okay, so we need a little bit of maybe I'll try to reach out to him and just find out what he wants CP. That'd be
I'm sure it makes sense, but yeah, I'm not. I don't know. I can't think of it.
I just like that you can condense an entire job into abbreviations that the entire industry understands. Like
For the most part.
you know what I mean? Yeah, that's how you get.
Well, you get tired of hours things down on reports, and a lot of this time it's like it's hunting pecks, type. It's not
Yeah.
Safe.
Well, AI will solve that at some point. I'm sure it'll be a little easier as we go. There's actually like doing I do voice to text all the time. When I was, it's just because it's so much faster these days. I can't text anymore, man. I like literally, if I can't talk to my phone, I'm not texting you back. I just can't do it. It the epitome of laziness. All right. The last thing I got. So we talked about superstitions last week. So cherry pies, chicken bones, and cleaning your hard hat. There were 3 more that came in that I thought were great, and actually got questions attached to them too. But the first one was never bring drill bits to the floor upside down. So that's fine. My question is, what is right side up? So how should you bring it to the drill floor? If you can't bring it upside down, does that mean you want the drill bit facing down?
Yeah, I need to send you a picture, but yes. So that's generally how drill bits, they come in bit boxes. So these little plastic deals, and some of them screw off, some of them have, little tabs that you can lock down. But essentially, whenever you open up, like if you open up a bit box, you're looking at the threads and you're not normally looking at the face of the bit. And so when he would say upside down, I don't know which way, because I mean, whenever I think of it, like, you put a bit box down, you open it up, like the face is facing down, which is the direction it should be facing when you want to screw it on, but maybe upside down would be the opposite way, so they get top heavy if you start doing that. Now, if it's still in a bit box, whatever, it's fine. But yeah, if you stand those things up to look at the face, they're pretty top heavy, fall over on you.
Yeah. So this reminds me, and I don't know why I'm thinking of this, but I grew up in a pretty big family, and before my mom got all crunchy on us and started being super healthy about food, you get those boxes of cereal, they put the little toy in the bottom of them, and so I kid you not, like whoever was the first person in the kitchen to pour the cereal in the morning would like flip the box upside down and try to get to it first. That's all I think about. So yeah, I still have a watch somewhere that I got from a cereal box, believe it or not, somewhere. It's just like a childhood memory thing. I don't even know where it is, but somewhere in there. My brother and I had a competition for it. All right, the next one was position drill pipe with the pin facing the rig floor. So I'm guessing the pin side is where it's got. I guess that would be your male end of the drill pipe, or no?
Right. Yep. Yeah, so you got a pin in a box for the box, but like I don't know that you'd ever put drill pipe. I mean, you always pick it up from the box end, you know, and that way too, when you put it in the mouse hole, you're putting it, you know, whatever, like, yeah, yeah, putting the pin side towards the rig would not be a smart idea.
Well, wouldn't you? Yeah. So yeah,
So you pick it up,
wouldn't you?
you pick it up from the box end, and then you know, you drag it up the V door. So that way, then you could set it in your mouse hole. If you're like making up stands, you know, you'll set it in your mouse hole, set your slips in the mouse hole, boom. Then you pick up the next one by the box, right? And so then from your mouse hole, you've got a box looking up. You're picking up this new piece of drill pipe pinned down, and so then you know you stab them and make it up. So yeah, you should always box
His
towards the floor.
Yeah, but he says never position drill pipe with the pin facing the rig floor. You'd want the pin facing the rig floor.
No, no, never. You want the box in.
No.
You want the box in facing the rig floor. No, I'm also talking about like on racks right there at the V door and the catwalk. Like maybe he's talking about like pipe racks off on the side of the location. Maybe that's where that one comes from. That's one I haven't heard of. I'll have to ask my guys. I'll have to ask my guys if that's a thing or not. But I'll tell you too, most of the time those pipe racks are running perpendicular to the rig and not parallel to it. So like it's never going to be facing the rig, you know, the rig. So I don't know.
All right. Well, that's the superstition out there. And then the other one, and I think, gosh, I feel this one. I don't care what I've done in my job for jobs in life, but after work plans, don't make work plans when heading to the pad, or don't make after work plans when heading to the pad. It's guaranteed every time. Make plans and you're not going to make it. If you want to go to dinner with your wife and you make plans to do it, you're not going to.
Yeah.
I can promise you. So
I could see that. I could see that. But I'll also say this too. A lot of times, you know, I mean, especially if you're working on the rig, you know, there's tower chains. They have a limit to the hours. I mean, they work 12-hour towers, and you know, for exhaustion reasons and making sure that everybody's alert and awake. You know, it's a dangerous job, and so you know, there's very little that I've ever seen where we have to keep a crew over. You know, now for the consultants and those guys, like yeah, it can drag on. That's for sure.
oh yeah, I'm sure. Well, that's all I got this week, Wade.
All right,
And
we hit a lot.
took me a bit. Yeah, it was a lot. I need an intern that can do this. One of our interns that was going to help me. He's offshore. He actually got a job. So he was working onshore. Now he's got a job, first job offshore in California. So another thing that I'm like, man, we're really starting to speed up over here is like my own people are getting pulled off to go do things. So it's great. Love seeing it. So, all right, guys. Well, that's all we have for you today. Thanks for being on with me and Wade and hanging out. If you guys have any questions, I can be reached at peter@localenergy.com, and that goes to Wade as well. But we love your questions. Have a great afternoon, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, never made an infomercial before, but I got a product that I've been using that all you girls could use, with Rachel with the little kids wiping their faces and their hands. Don't have to use the nasty chemicalized wipes, if that's even a word. Tiffany always eating in her car, and the girls are always eating in the car. Use these, a little drop of water. Here's how much it takes. They're called compressed towels. They're this big, that big. They're like a Tums. Take a couple of drops of water, just like that. Can you see it expanding? Now it's that big. You open her up, and you keep opening it up, and you've got a strong towel. Strong. Wipe your face. Get the berry grease off our faces. Wipe your hands. No chemicals. No nothing. Wipe the dog's feet, which I do. There it is. I sent a picture. They're on Amazon. You can't beat it. Look at strong. See? Strong. You can't tear these. They're strong. Amazing. Everybody's always got water. You know, it's the trendy thing. You got to carry water. So miss you guys. Love you. It's the first infomercial I've ever done.